eyes could be covered somehow, but if he were going to choose his opponents in his revenge, he wouldn't have punched Park Min-chul in the face the moment he returned. Rather, he would have chosen to live a peaceful life while avoiding those bastards. However, after going through his hell-like life as a vegetative patient, he only dreamed of intense revenge, and this was the result of it. And with this, Hyun-sung knows that there will be an uproar soon. As the principal who said he would make Bright Prospects High School a prestigious one, he would try hard to punish him for this incident. On the contrary, dozens of witnesses saw him as covering this up. He won't be able to stop it even if he tries to. And if he can't handle even the Bright Prospect High School in the first place, he won't be able to dream of the revenge he is trying to take. So this is only the beginning. Soon after, the faculty staff gathered, with Hyun-sung sitting across the table, to talk about what happened. The principal then stated that he wouldn't tolerate this incident. He then asked the teacher if they saw the faces of the victims, to which they said they did. So they agree on each other to punish Hyun-sung about this incident. But before the English teacher can continue her statement, Kim Young-chul nudged her to stop, because he knows it will be the end of them if Hyun-sung got expelled. So to avoid that, Kim Young-chul stepped up to tell them that is true that Hyun-sung was in the wrong, but through his observations as the homeroom teacher of Section 1, the cause of the incident was the victims, including Park Min-chul. Hearing Kim Young-chul disagree with them made the principal confused. Therefore he asks to clarify, to which Kim Young-chul did, and explained to them that there are a lot of students that say Park Min-chul's gang bullies the students on a normal basis, so he was planning to catch them on the act and punish them accordingly. But student Hyun-sung must have been unable to endure the bullying and did what he did in the end. He then adds that student Hyun-sung was a victim before he was a perpetrator. If they punish Hyun-sung like this, they will be doing something that a teacher shouldn't do. But even with this, the principal tells him that a punishment is inevitable. With how the principal react, Kim Young-chul has no choice but to answer back. While they are getting heated up, the principal is doing this because he was well aware that Jung Min-ho's parents won't let this matter slide. So to relieve their anger, he must stamp on the perpetrating students. If he aimed to make the Bright Prospects School a prestigious institution, he must hold tight his ties with the powerful. Therefore, with this belief, he decided to convene a review committee 1 week from now, and they will decide on how they will punish Hyun-sung in that meeting. And he orders the teacher to control this issue, so that the rumors about this don't spread. And also he declares that student Hyun-sung will be suspended until the review committee meeting. After giving the orders, he advises Hyun-sung to think about what he did wrong, while he doesn't appear at school. After that he must come to school with his parents in 1 week. But this outcome only made Hyun-sung even happier, since all of this was according to his plan. He then stood up and left the place, but before he could go back to his class, Kim Young-chul caught up to him and explained to him that he did his best and get to his good sides. However, this pathetic gesture of his only made Hyun-sung laugh at him and think less of him even more. But still, Hyun-sung tells Kim Young-chul that he knows he tried his best, and after that he confronts him about knowing from the beginning that Park Min-chul has been bullying the students. So Hyun-sung looks at him with disdain and advises him to always remember, until he graduates from this school, he must always do his best for Hyun-sung's sake, regardless of the means or methods. That is the only way he can stop him from speaking up. And of course, he is also going to tear the English teacher's life to pieces too if he failed. Still, he assures him that he will keep his word. With this, Kim Young-chul has no choice but to accept his fate. Hyun-sung then went on his way, while gritting his teeth, because if it were just up to him, he would really love to destroy him. However, Kim Young-chul is not his true goal, so he can't throw away a useful card right away, just because of his anger. At least, he needs him until he lays the groundwork at Bright Prospects High School. 1 week from now is the time he has been thinking and planning about for the past decade. Once this time passes, the principal, Dae-hwan, will be surprised about a situation that will unfold, completely different from what he is expecting. A few moments later, Hyun-sung is walking down an alley towards their house, a Scanian multi-residential complex, which would only cost 50 million won. If it weren't for the insurance money they got after his parents' death, they would have been living here on rent. When he heard that his grandmother had to sell this place for his hospital fee, it was like the world was falling apart for him. He used to think this place was shabby, but now he is just thankful he has a place to live. Hyun-sung then enters their house, calling out for his family, in order to meet them after many long years. However, no one is there to greet him. Now he remembers his grandma used to work daily at this hour, and he then realizes that if he wants to help his family, he doesn't have time to be sentimental. It's a miracle already that he got this opportunity, so he is not only going to take his revenge but also provide a good environment where his grandma and brother can live comfortably. And there's 1 week before the review committee convenes, so he knows that he has just a few days left to get his shit together and to organize his thoughts. He opens his notebook to list everything he has planned. Since his plans are clear, he knows that he must secure the surrounding territory to establish a base within 2 years and start clearing their stronghold during the sophomore year. In order to do that, he needs to meet 3 conditions. First is his physical strength to bring down those bastards who lead school violence. He has to grow enough strength that won't make him fall easily, although there is a way to train himself. But that guy, if he can just rope in that guy on his side, it will bring him a huge advantage in the fight. The next condition is also pretty similar. The bastards he will be facing from now on are connected to a vast association, so if he has to deal with all of them, he should also have a group of people who share his goal. And that's the problem. Right now, he is merely a freshman. Even if he has a perfect plan, there is no way he can get his revenge on his own. With this, he knows that he must position the pieces on the game board he made and gather the people he needs. And last but not least, a problem he can solve only because he knows the future. He should have a background that can reduce all the problems into nothing in order for him to execute the plans properly. At any rate, to solve the upcoming problem of the review committee, the paramount condition is having a background. At a later time, inside the police station, a white-haired man is causing a scene because of the situation that he was in, and using his status, he threatens them, and just in case they don't know him, he loudly introduced himself, which the officer knows very well that he is Go Changbyum, the eldest son of the Myling Jean Construction Company, and a mighty figure of Dezen who can screw their lives if they do something wrong. But right now, even he has to act cautiously since the company is in the middle of selecting a new heir. As such, they have no choice but to follow due process of law, and it's a better course of action than being pestered by the other side for letting it slide. While Go Changbyum is troubled because of what happened, and he is here at the police station since a bastard started a fight with him, and he had no choice but to reciprocate. It was not his fault that those bastards were so weak that they had to be taken to the emergency room, but he knows that if things go wrong, he is sure the bastards who oppose him will capitalize on it. And with this, he knows he really fucked up this time. He is taking this matter seriously, because recently, his father made the formal announcement regarding the onset of the succession war between him and his brother, the outcome of which will determine who gets his position. A war between him, who has barely graduated from high school, and his brother, who has graduated from a prestigious foreign university. His brother even married the daughter of a prestigious family 3 years ago. As such, his brother has a much firm position right now, and if this case is publicly revealed, he will really be falling down the cliff. The officer then tried to calm him down, explaining that it'll be challenging for them to let such a case slide, which Go Changbyum was furious to hear this and tried to explain his side. However, the officer still didn't believe him. There wasn't even a CCTV at the crime scene, and since he didn't have any proof, they had nothing that could deny the victim's testimony. With this, he could only look away as he cursed about the air competition, and with him turning to look away, he noticed a kid's presence. Now he wondered why there was a kid in this place, but to his surprise, this kid states that he came here to testify what he is claiming. A few moments later, the police officer is sweating like crazy while reviewing the recording that Hyun-sung gave. He then asks Hyun-sung how did he get this, because, just like Mr. Go Changbyum said, the bystanders started swinging their fists, and no matter how they look at this, it was them who tried to pick a fight against Mr. Go Changbyum, who was just walking by. Hyun-sung explained to them that he coincidentally witnessed it, and he noticed there wasn't any CCTV around, and because the testimony from a minor was not sufficient, he requested for the footage from the black box of a nearby car. Hyun-sung then declares that this gentleman tried his best to get out of that situation, but those people were persistent, and that's why he had no choice but to fight back. If there is something wrong with what he did, it's only the fact that he was so strong that he knocked out those people in a single punch. This is clearly self-defense. Amazed by Hyun-sung, Go Changbyeom backed up his claim, while he had a smile on his face, because his father believes that people should be beaten when they deserve it. As long as he has a witness and proof, there is no reason for him to be in a predicament just because of this case. So with this, the officer declared that this matter is settled, and after the offenders are treated, he would call him back. He then tries to save his ass by telling Go Changbyeom that they regret the inconvenience they caused him, and they should have listened to him and probed this matter thoroughly, and they failed to be impartial after seeing the victim's blood. But this bullshit wasn't effective to him, telling the officer that's his problem, so he will make sure to remember that face of his, and tells him that he will have a bright future ahead of him, and just look forward to it. After that was settled, Go Changbyeom and Hyun-sung are now outside the police station. He then tells Hyun-sung that he could have been really screwed if it wasn't for him. So he, Go Changbyeom, ain't someone who forgets the favor, and gives him money for what he did, which Hyun-sung happily accepts, while Go Changbyeom is amazed by this, because normally, kids of his age are reluctant to take such a huge amount of money. But not only did he look for CCTV, he even found the black box video. However, his thoughts are interrupted by Hyun-sung asking him if he thinks all that was just a coincidence. This question confuses him, so he asks to clarify, to which Hyun-sung gets straight to the point, and tells him that he knows who he is, and what circumstances that he was in. With just this, he was ready to beat Hyun-sung to the ground, but before that, he asks who he is, to which Hyun-sung tells him that he has proof that can prove that this wasn't just a coincidence. He was confident of his information because Go Changbyeom was a famous man around their place, and thanks to that, he remembered what's happening right now in the Myeongjin Construction Company and his family, about how they lived until now and how they ended. And with this knowledge, he tells Go Changbyeom if he really feels grateful, he asks to give him an hour, and he can promise him that it will be worth his time and his future. In a change of scene, they are now inside a cafe. Hyun-sung showed him the original copy of the black box to Go Changbyeom. Since he could prove it was self-defense using just the later half of the video, he didn't show them the first half. The first part that he is watching is what happened to Go Changbyeom, a definite proof that it was not coincidence. 30 minutes before the incident, 3 men gathered in front of the convenience store. At first glance, they may look like customers just using the convenience store, but even though 30 minutes had passed, they didn't move an inch and stayed there, as if they were waiting for someone. The moment he arrived at the spot, they blatantly started a fight with him, as if asking to be hit. They moved their faces forward and let out some curses. Go Changbyeom tried maintaining his composure, but he punched first in the end. It's fair to say that Go Changbyeom must have been suspicious about this himself. The recent series of events are happening as if someone intended to, as soon as the successor race commenced. Since then, only bad things have been happening to him, one after another. With all this, Hyun-sung asks him what if all of this was planned by Go Chang-suk to undermine him, whether accidentally or intentionally, be it any of those. The severity of the problem differs greatly. To be honest with himself, he was suspicious, but he didn't want to find out that his younger brother, who grew up well, would commit such a nasty deed. With these revelations, he asks Hyun-sung what his motives were, while Hyun-sung is taking a sip of his tea, remembering all the things he knows. Myeongjin Construction, it's only acknowledged in the countryside as of now, but based on their solid capital and technology, they would succeed in apartment branding. Thanks to Chairman Go Myeongjin's philosophy that you should never play with houses that people live in, they reduced the margin and increased their completion rate, and later put the name of Myeongjin Construction in the ranks of large conglomerates. But in that process, both the sons disappeared. The crisis would start with Go Chang-suk. From this point on, not long after, an incident that shook the grounds of Daesan, to the point that even he, who was suffering from school violence, knew about it. Go Chang-suk was aiming for the position of the successor and did all sorts of things and ended up being discovered by Go Changbyeom, his older brother. The angry Go Changbyeom punched his little brother just like that, and through that blow, Go Chang-suk became permanently disabled. Furious about this, Go Myeongjin announced that both of his sons were incompetent, so he wouldn't hand over Myeongjin Construction to them, and this caused an uproar. So at one point, digging up the activities of the two sons became popular enough to be posted as memes on the internet. Thanks to that, he was able to trace his memory and find that location. Anyways, due to that, Chairman Go Myung-jin hired a professional manager, which led Myung-jin Construction to rise to the ranks of conglomerates. To be honest, for Myung-jin Construction's sake, it'll be good for the future not to change. Although the eldest son, Go Changbyum, isn't so evil to cut down his competitor, but he's an incompetent person with a typical nasty temperament. The second son, Go Chang-suk, is a vicious person who does everything regardless of morality to achieve his own goal. It's only right for Myung-jin Construction to cut out both sons for their own sake, but that's not really important to him. To Hyun-sung, their usefulness in his matters is more important. What's right or wrong, what kind of butterfly effect will happen once the future changes, that kind of thing isn't his business. It doesn't matter even if the future changes for the worse through his choice. In this life, revenge comes first, and he is going to take care of his family. So with his resolve, Hyun-sung tells Go Changbyum that he will help him, so that he can take revenge on Go Chang-suk, and so that he, the oldest son, can become the chairman of Myung-jin Construction. Hearing his bold claims made Go Changbyum laugh at how ridiculous it was, but before he could undermine Hyun-sung's validity, Hyun-sung tells him that he knew there were people who were helping him in this succession race, but what he found strange is, the people who are assisting him are merely filling his ears with sweet things, while a mere high schooler like him can decipher Go Chang-suk's plot. So it's obvious, those people must be Go Chang-suk's informants. Hyun-sung adds that he won't ask him to believe, all he wants is a chance, the chance to build their relationship on trust. Now stressed out, he went outside and decided to smoke for a little bit, while thinking about what to do, but before he could do that, he was disturbed by a staff in the cafe. Therefore, with bloodshot eyes, he tells him to fuck off, or else he will just destroy this cafe. While Hyun-sung is just looking at him from a window, in deep thought, since he is with Go Changbyum, someone who lived carelessly since he was born as the oldest son of Myung-jin Construction. He was famous for being known as a time bomb that should not be touched in the land of Daesan, but he didn't approach him because he was a righteous person in the first place. It's because he's moderately a rotten one who would destroy his brother for the sake of power. That's actually why he determined that he was the suitable person for his plan. Meanwhile, Go Changbyum realizes what this brat said wasn't wrong, and compared to his brother, he doesn't have anything, and at this rate, it's obvious that the successor position would be stripped away from him powerlessly. However, in this situation, is it right to believe the words of a 17-year-old, who he has only met the first time in his life? But then, he remembers what his father said to him, telling him that, if he has no skills, then keep those with skills beside him. Don't fret about their age, gender or situation. If he keeps those who have the skills he needs by his side, he will be able to lead Myung-jin Construction. Finally remembering those words, he followed his guts, and went to Hyun-sung, ordering to tell him his plans first. He will hear it all and make a decision. Meanwhile, Go Chang-suk is informed of what happened. Therefore, he becomes furious, and throws his phone to the ground, while cursing because this is the fault of that geezer's old-fashioned way of thinking, as he asks why does he still think the eldest precedes the inheritance rights, when they are in this time already. He then tries to calm himself down, because he still has the upper hand here. At this rate, if nothing in particular happens, the successor position will naturally be his, but before he can think clearly, another call rings. Therefore, he picks it up, only to be shocked by the news that his wife has broken into Hyun-sung's office. At the same time, Hyun-sung is telling Go Changbyum that he needs to be aware of reality to win this succession race. So he asks him, between him and Go Chang-suk, who he thinks suits the chairman position of Myung-jin Construction. Of course, it is Go Chang-suk. Unlike him, who barely graduated from high school, Go Chang-suk studied business administration at a prestigious university abroad, and he got married to a prestigious family as soon as he returned to Korea. Afterwards, he instigated that those he recruited should fairly decide on the successor. That way, an official succession structure has been formed. Nothing has been a coincidence from the beginning. Go Chang-suk has prepared a lot in order to steal his brother's position, and as a result, he's created a very clear advantageous position for him. Except for the fact that he, Go Changbyum, the older brother, there's not a single part where he exceeds more than him. On top of that, he has a lot of cases and accidents like this one. So who in the world would support him? Hearing all these facts laid out to him made Go Changbin furious. However, he couldn't deny any of it, so he just shuts up furiously. While Hyun-sung continues, stating that, even after taking into account such differences, he does think that there's enough possibility for him to win. With that statement, Go Changbin cooled down, and was intrigued, so he asked to clarify, to which Hyun-sung explained that, even when Go Chang-suk is clearly at the advantage for this succession race, there's only one reason why Chairman Go Myung-jin would make him compete for it, and that it's because of the naive thought that the eldest son would still desire to become the successor. That's why he can compete, even though the difference has grown to such an extent that competition itself is not necessary. Chairman Go Myung-jin has yet to clearly select a successor. And if that's the case, what if Go Chang-suk, who is superior to him in every way, falls to the bottom, where he is now? With just this statement, Go Changbin realizes what he was saying. Finally on the same page, Hyun-sung asks Go Changbin what does he think will happen. If he has the same skills, who would Chairman Go Myung-jin choose between the two of you? So that's when the competition begins, when he stands on the same level as the opponent. At that time, the only strength of being the eldest son will be the class that he can never turn upside down. So if he wishes to win the succession war, he needs three things. First is background, and he has already lost in this aspect. When Go Chang-suk was busy making alliances with the prestigious families of Daesan through marriage, he was busy making connections with useless people in the red light district. Next is the second one, reputation, which there is no need for him to explain Changbin's reputation as the asshole of Daesan. So they are left with the third thing, ability. While Go Changbin was hanging out with women and enjoying alcohol, Go Chang-suk was proving his worth through accomplishments in the business. Go Chang-suk doesn't need to be special, because whatever he does, it will be better than what Changbin does, which Go Changbin was pissed to hear about, but since it was all facts, he could only look away. Then Hyun-sung states that, from now on, they are going to overturn these three things, so they go back to discuss the first thing, the background. Now Hyun-sung asks what they should do to overturn it, because it's not like he can marry a prestigious family like Go Chang-suk right away, nor can he gain such authority or clout out of the blue, so they have to think of it the opposite way. In order to do that, they have to separate Go Chang-suk from his wife, because once the support of his wife, the pivotal figure in the background, disappears, Go Chang-suk will be back at the same starting line as them. With this plan, they are all set to accomplish it, so a few moments pass by. The brothers are now inside a building with their father, and Go Chang-suk is apologetic about what happened, to which their father, Go Myung-jin, can't accept his apology, while calling him a pathetic bastard, and as Myung-jin looks at him with disdain, he tells Chang-suk that he has contacted his father-in-law, and this old father of his told him that he would teach him a lesson so that things don't escalate to the point of divorce, and Chang-suk's wife asked him to tell Chang-suk that she will be staying away for a while, because she is going to see how he makes it up to her. Hearing how his father lowered his pride for him, Chang-suk was about to apologize again, but Myung-jin had enough of that, because he had already reminded them several times that if the man plays around with his PP, the family falls. So if he was going to play around with a bitch like that, he should have rather done that as a single, like that fucking Changbin. So it looks like he screwed up raising his children. After that, he confronts Changbin next, asking him why he was going in and out of the police station, which Myung-jin was sure that Changbin would keep claiming that he was innocent like he used to. However, he didn't expect Go Changbin had already planned to subvert his expectations, because, before all of this happened, at the cafe where he was still with Hyun-sung, Changbin excitedly assumes that he has to look for Chang-suk's flaws and point them out to his dad, which Hyun-sung tells him that it would not work. He is sure of it, because when he was comatose, he heard a documentary about Go Myung-jin, and that Chairman Go Myung-jin knew all about what his two sons were doing. And of course, he also knew Go Chang-suk was making devious plans to bring his older brother down. However, Chairman Go Myung-jin said it was also a way to get things done, and as such, he didn't stop Chang-suk. With this, Hyun-sung knows that Go Myung-jin didn't prioritize clean conduct as a criteria for selecting the successor. Even if his successor's private life and conduct were a little dirty, he wanted them to be someone who could contribute to the development of the company. So he is sure that Go Myung-jin's heart would not be inclined to Go Changbin, just because he starts pointing out Go Chang-suk's wrong deeds, and he would rather put a professional manager in charge. And if Go Chang-suk's disappointing appearance remains the same, Bringing his enemy down to his level won't fetch him the chance of becoming the successor. Therefore, Go Changbyum needs to display an attitude befitting the position of the chairman. He must prove that he has changed. So, Hyunsung tells Changbyum what to do. With this, Changbyum apologizes to his father, while also promising him that he would be careful not to let something like this happen again. And since he knows that it is not enough to move his heart, he doubled down by bowing his head, while stating, whatever the reason was, it was wrong for the eldest son of Myungjin Construction Company to cause such a problem. And from now on, he will be mindful of his position and think before he